All right, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Today is June 10, and we're a little bit after 8 o'clock in the morning. And our weather, what is our weather today? 92 high, that's going to be warm. And low is 75. No, low is 70. It's 75 now. Tomorrow it's about the same, high at 91. And it seems to stay like this for quite a while. It cools off a little bit on Sunday, so they say, okay, so we're going to have some air conditioning weather. What are you going to do? As long as there's electricity, we have air conditioning. I heard in the old days, before air conditioning, what they would do is they would take a big bucket or a tub and they'd fill it with cold tap water. And people would stick their feet in it and keep their feet in there for quite a while, and that would cool them off. I never thought of that. What we used to do years ago when I lived in Tiberias without air conditioning, and it would go over 100 frequently, is I would just take a cold shower, as cold as I could take it, for 3 to 5 minutes. And that knocks your core temperature down. And you're usually good for 2 to 4 hours. So for the heat of the day, you probably have to do that twice. And then you're okay. But those were pretty harsh days, I remember, gosh. Whoa, that was rough. Okay. So what we're going to cover today is a lot of news. Just a lot of stuff. One of the things is June 14th, which I believe is Saturday. They got protests scheduled all over the United States, and they're saying there's 100 what they consider terrorist organizations involved in this. Okay, this could be sleeper agent time. I can't guarantee it. It could be a prelude to the sleeper agents. They might be watching to see what happens in America and then make a decision about the sleeper agents. These protests and the people running the sleeper agents are most likely having coordination. I would be shocked to believe that they're not, but that's coordination. It's probably on a high level, and it's probably taking place in communications outside the U.S. with people not in the U.S. The real decision makers would be not in America. It'd be foolhardy for them to be in America. The people that follow or take orders would be in America, not the ones giving them. Okay. This could be catastrophic. I don't know how many cities they intend to get, but I would say you're looking at least 100 cities. They're going to hit all the state capitals, I'm sure, and they're going to hit other, states that have a lot of big cities. They're going to go after, not like New York. I'm sure they're going to hit New York City, probably in 2 or 3 locations, and they're going to hit the capital, which is Albany. And in Florida, they'll probably hit a couple of cities as well. And in Texas, they already are hitting a few cities. Now they're doing Austin and Dallas, Texas. Now, I think today or yesterday. And they hit other cities in Texas already. So they're really trying to make a big issue out of Texas. And the governor there, I think his name is Abbott, is... they're trying to test his mettle. But he's going to have the local state, city, and county law enforcement take a heavy hand at these protests, I'm pretty sure, unless the federal government tells them not to. So it's going to be pretty hairy. 2,000 National Guard in LA. Trump mobilized another 2,000, total 4,000, and something like 700 Marines have been deployed to LA. Have they actually gone out in the streets and controlled protesters? I don't think this yet happened, but they've been moved, I believe, from their base, 29 Palms in California, into the LA theater of the protests. It's real chaos down there because the people are not taking a heavy enough hand towards the protesters. That's why. There's no magic there. Now, is there a chance that June 14th this just blows over and, like 50 people go to Albany and wave signs? Yeah, but I don't think so. I think this is becoming very serious. I think the enemies of the United States do not want to see Trump deport millions and millions of people, including their sleeper agents, because they have a very heavy threat level against Trump. He knows the sleeper agents are there. I heard him say before he was elected that there are up to 30 million illegals in the United States, and he knows 60 to 70% of them are military age single males coming without families. He knows that. Okay? You just take the 30 million and cut it in half. Okay? Down to 15 million. Okay? Cut it in half again. 7.5 million. Right? 60% of those is millions of sleeper agents. But if it's really 30 million, they got 18, 20 million sleeper agents in the United States. The border was wide open with Biden. All you had to do was stroll right in. That's all you had to do. March right in. That's it. And the Chinese own land next to all the major military bases, acres and acres of farmland. How hard is it for them to hide them on the farmland? Underground bunkers, above ground facilities, impersonating laborers working in the fields. It's private property. How are they going to go on there and search it? It's a real mess. Trump can't undo 8 years of Obama, then interrupted by 4 years of Trump, then followed by 4 years of Biden. Trump came up with a theory recently that Biden was dead and they were using a body double, using a signature machine to run the country. Do I think he'll ever be able to prove that and establish that and actually use it? Nah, he might, but I don't think so. What's his gain? What does he get out of that? Not much. Is Trump capable and competent of handling massive protests like this in America? No. Has he had experience with this? No. Does he know what he's doing? No. Has he demonstrated great fear against the Houthis and Iran? Yes. Great fear. Is he going to be forced into dealing with these protesters? He will. What's he going to do? I guarantee you he's going to make a mistake. He's in the snare. I guarantee you. It might be he goes too soft, he goes too hard, he puts his emphasis in the wrong areas, but he will make mistakes. Okay? You're talking about the destruction of the daughter of Babylon in these days, and that's that. Okay? Can this cause ruler fighting ruler? Yes. Trump said he would arrest the governor of California. That's a smart thing to say, but he didn't arrest him. How can that blow up? Oh, it's easy. Well, let me get into the live stream, and then we'll talk more about these things. But there's a lot of other things in the news we're gonna go through. But you better get your head wrapped around this. This June 14th looks like it's gonna be horrible. Okay, that's Saturday. Today's what, Tuesday? Is it Saturday? I think so. Yep, Saturday. All right, let me go into the live stream, make sure we got a live stream. There's so many people running around following the Putin and Ukraine thing. Guys, it's okay to follow Ukraine and Russia. I mean, I do, but don't spend a lot of time on it. It ain't going anywhere. Russia can't attack the NATO countries. It can't even contain Ukraine. And NATO is so scared, and they're afraid America will drop them. They're not going to attack Russia. The only time this is going to escalate is if it looks overwhelmingly that Russia will be occupying and controlling all of Ukraine. Then NATO will go in and do nothing more than push Russia out. In the meantime, Russia and Ukraine are just going to destroy each other. That's all that you're going to see here. You got to watch Israel in the Middle East. That's in prophecy. Yemen getting it. That's in Jeremiah 49. Iran getting it. Elam in Jeremiah 49, which can include parts of Iraq and Syria, getting devastated, where all the people have to leave and scatter into the other countries of the world where the sword follows them and cuts them off. Unfulfilled will be fulfilled. And the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, Jeremiah 50:51, and Isaiah 47. Now that happens before Jeremiah 30:11, where God destroys all the nations he scattered the Israelites into over the centuries, which is just about all of them. Okay? And that can't happen before Jeremiah 50 and 51, because there wouldn't be any nations left to destroy America. So it has to come after. So time's up for America is what I'm telling you. But a lot of you aren't going to believe me, and you're not going to, you're not going to get in, America's not the daughter of Babylon. We got all the churches, nothing's going to, all that stuff. I can't help everybody. There's a tremendous amount of people in denial right now. All the churches of many things. Okay, we got sound and picture, and let me see what's going on in here. I've got moderators. Thanks again. Many thanks to the moderators. Please hit the thumbs up. It helps. That's not a major effort for you to hit the thumbs up. It's rather simple and easy. It takes you 2 seconds. Isn't that the least you could do? Is hit the thumbs up. I'm not even asking you to subscribe. Someone says I'm in California. There's not that many Marines right now. All I think has happened so far is the Marines were moved off their base in 29 Palms. I don't think they're actually put into action yet. They could be staged in buses at an airfield somewhere. I have no idea. But I have not seen a herd of the Marines hitting the streets yet. I think it'll happen. California holding Super Bowl. I don't know what they're going to do about that. With the Olympics, who knows what they're going to do? I don't have any idea. One way or another, it's not very important. But there's a lot of other news. Wait till you hear it. Okay, I've got to put a post up in the live stream, but I'm going to do it as a cut and paste, which means it's going to be quick and easy. Yeah, I got my post up, but there's more posts in here. Let me see if anybody wants. Yeah, we do English here. I don't do Hebrew or other languages. Mark 9:42. Someone posted that. I'll look at the scripture. I mean, I'm always open. I don't know what it says. But Yeshua called them to him and saith unto them, you know that they which are accounted to rule over the Goyim exercise lordship over them, and their great ones exercise authority upon them. But so shall it not be among you, but whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. Okay. Good post. All right, I'm going to do some praise, being a Bible-believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So I'm going to give you a lot of moving pieces on the chessboard now around the world, and you've got to, in your mind, stack them together or line them up like dominoes and think about them getting pushed over and knocking all of them down. That's how you have to look at this, because there's a lot, okay? I'll just jump in. The Houthis shot another missile at Israel yesterday, and it fell down. It failed. And I believe it failed over Saudi Arabia because they blamed the Saudis for helping Israel and apparently blaming them for doing a missile takedown. Now, this could lead to them attacking Saudi Arabia. Is there a high probability of this? Very high. The Saudis a week ago threatened the Iranians, and they said if you don't make a nuclear deal with America, with Trump, Israel is going to attack your nuclear facilities. So what did Iran do? Oh, we'll obliterate Israel. We'll put them into the dust. We'll wipe them. Standard big mouth crap from the psychotics in Iran. So um, does it look like the Saudis helped us? It does, because there's a lot of behind the scenes deals going on. The Saudis are a bunch of inbred, well, I don't know how inbred they are. They're actually idiots, okay? They're idiots. Right to the guy running Saudi Arabia. He's an idiot, okay? He doesn't know what he's doing. They're all idiots. What are they good at? They're good at going to a store and examining fabric to make sure it's the most exclusive, finest fabric used for bath towels or sheets or pillowcases or clothing. They're great at that. They could examine marble and wood and tell you what the finest table is. They know how to take a Rolls Royce and plate it with gold and sterling silver and crap like that, right? They know how to equip a private jet or a yacht and make it really luxurious with gold toilet seats and stuff like this. Okay, this is all they're good at. They're morons, okay? Saudi Arabia is a country of complete nincompoops, okay? And they're mean and they're brutal and they're cruel, okay? And they're nincompoops, and they got to hire foreigners to do their medical work, dentists, medical doctors, lab technicians, and they got to hire people, foreigners, to run their oil wells and refineries. These are idiots, okay? They can't make it on their own. And it's called Dedan, Dedan, in the prophecies, like in Jeremiah 49, and they get it. They get hit bad. Okay, they get hit pretty bad. They don't get wiped out. They get hit pretty bad because they're stupid people, and they're playing a game they know nothing about. One time they were openly in the war against Israel, and they never tried that again. Okay, and they don't trust anybody. They don't like anybody. They don't want anything except their royal family is all who they trust. They're dictators. They're just dictators. Look, the kings, or whatever they call themselves in Saudi Arabia, are dictators. The king of Jordan is a dictator. The king of Oman is a dictator. The king of the UAE, or whatever he calls himself, Emir or whatever, is a dictator. Bahrain, Qatar, the royal families are dictators. Kuwait, the Emir of the royal family, is a dictator. That's all these people are, is they're dictators. They wipe their feet on civil rights. Women have no right. Muslims don't have rights. It's pathetic, and the United States backs them wholeheartedly. They don't call her the daughter of Babylon for nothing. The United States backs every one of these Slav countries. The exception would be Oman. Oman stays away from the United States to some extent. So, okay? Jordan drinks of the cup of the wrath that the United States administers to them. So does Saudi Arabia. So does Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. Okay? And they're afraid of Iran. Very afraid of Iran, because Iran would go with Iraq and with Yemen and pick them off one by one and just take them over. And then put them under Sharia law, put the women in hijabs, whip them in the street when they don't behave, all the psychotic stuff, All right, so Saudi Arabia may have a problem with Yemen coming. Yemen are insane. Okay? You have to understand that. So what did Israel just do? Israel put an evacuation order, you got to listen to this, out on the 3 ports in Yemen. Okay? They told the people to evacuate because they're going to be hitting the ports, 3 of them, again. Okay, I'll give you the names of the ports. I don't know. One is Sana. I don't know the names of the ports, but I have it here in my notes. I'm looking for it. We warned them to evacuate Hodidaya Port, or Hodidaya, whatever the heck, I can't pronounce that stuff. Ras Isa Port and Al Sarif Port. Not the Sana Port, I guess, or maybe that's the first one, I don't know. They got 3 ports total, I believe, and they told them to evacuate all 3. What was the response of the Houthis? The response of the Houthis was the threat towards the Jaffa port, the Haifa port, the port of Acre, and Ashdod port. Those are Israel's ports. They're actually got the guts to tell us they're going to attack our ports. 99% of the missiles they launch get taken down. Netanyahu is a very despicable excuse for a human being, by the way. And he thinks it's okay to let them fire missiles every day at Israel and keep taking them down. What if there's a mistake made? Is Netanyahu and his family going to get blown up? No. Somebody else might. He's a piece of garbage. Now, let me tell you what Trump might be waiting for with Iran. I just picked this up yesterday. It's out there, but most people don't know it exists. This week, the Board of Governors of Germany, France, and the UK are scheduled to publish their decision regarding the Iranian nuclear program. If they decide that Iran has violated the agreement, this will require them to automatically impose hundreds of sanctions that will take effect immediately. Okay? Now, this is going to happen this week. Now, let's break this down in a way you could understand how this is going to go. Germany is against Russia. Remember, giving weapons to Ukraine, Taurus missiles, etc., many, many, many weapons, right? Billions and billions of dollars. France, they're against Russia, giving weapons to Ukraine. France is very aggressive against Russia, using Ukraine. And that leaves the UK. And Russia's been threatening and telling the UK they're going to be his first target, he's going to blow them up. And they're helping Ukraine also. So when you help Ukraine, you're opposing Russia, correct? Correct. Who has a mutual defense treaty with Russia in the Middle East but Iran? Does Iran give missiles and drones to Russia to help them fight the war against Ukraine, which Germany, UK, and France are opposing? You know, they're on the other side of, yes. So tell me if you now believe Germany and France and the UK, or you could call it Great Britain, whatever you want to call it, are going to be nice to Iran and say, oh, attaboy, you little psychotic lunatics, it's okay what you're doing, we're not going to go to war with you, when they're helping Russia and they're an ally of Russia, a military and economic ally of Russia, and they're in, you know, and Russia and Iran are in BRICS and they're trying to destroy not just the US dollar, but the euro, which France uses, Germany uses, and UK does not use. They use the British pound. Used to be called the pound sterling. That's when money was backed by metal, but that's no longer the case for a long time. British pound used to be really strong. Used to be worth more than $3. That's a long time ago. Okay, so the France and Germany and the UK are going to go with the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, who's saying Iran is a bunch of dirty dogs and they got enough uranium where they can make 10 nuclear bombs already, and they're enriching at a high level, and they can enhance it and make it even more, and we don't know what they're doing, and they're deceiving us and lying, and they got secret sites. And that's the policy that Germany, France, and the UK are going to follow. And what's Trump going to say about that? Trump's going to blow kisses at them. He's just going to go, oh, you guys did the right thing. I love you guys. You're really good guys. That's what Trump's going to say. You think Trump's going to say, you idiots, you're going to create a war with Iran. What's wrong with you? No. No, he wants to pull them in. How does Iran or Elam in Jeremiah 49, same thing, except Elam would also include Iraq and Syria, according to some historians and cartographers, map makers that study ancient maps and stuff. Okay, so it gets destroyed, Elam, Iran, gets destroyed by her enemies in the plural. What am I seeing? I'm seeing Trump, we know, has Israel against Iran, and there's the United States against Iran, that's 2. The UK, we know, is against Iran, that's 3. Add in France and Germany, now you got 5. And they're gonna pick up another 2 or 3 along the way. Now, if a bunch of countries get together and they start deploying lots of aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, heavy cruisers, not so heavy cruisers, minesweepers, whatever, right? What's that do for Iran? Well, it doesn't mean they're going to knock out their nuclear facilities or their missile cities. No. It does mean they're going to devastate the country, wreck the infrastructure, so all the people have to leave. Remember, if they destroyed Iran where they leveled it, the people wouldn't be leaving. Now, maybe just a remnant leave, I don't know. It doesn't say that. It implies a large amount leave. So they're going to wreck the infrastructure. Can they also wreck the nuclear facilities? Well, I've told you many times, these facilities have to have ductwork or a shaft for air. You can't go down 600, 900,000 feet and just hope you're going to get air, you know? So they got to have electricity, and they got to have a fan that's probably a series of fans that are probably 10, 15 feet wide that turn at a high speed that create a big draft and suck air down. Otherwise, what are you going to breathe? You know? So that means there's generators. Can the generators be inside these underground facilities very deep in mountains? Yeah, they could. They could exhaust the gases out. That's one way to do it. Another more sane way to do it would be to have the generators outside the nuclear facility so they don't have to worry about the gases exhausting, and then those generators become a target. I don't know how they set the generators up, but they need generators. And not just to power fans, guys. You need lights, computers, water pressure, toilet flushing, air conditioning, temperature control, either heat or cold. You got to drive the nuclear equipment. You got a tremendous amount of power needs. And it starts to look, when you look at this, and you'll probably see it, it starts to make you think, gee, can they put such big generators inside the underground facility with the heat buildup, and assuming they're going to run them on diesel or other kind of gasoline, getting the fumes out is a bad issue, a bad problem. I mean, you're talking that you're going to need several generators, each the size of a big city bus. You're going to probably need 4 or 5 like that. So, what do you do with these generators? I don't know. But that's got to be a vulnerability. And the air ducts got to go to the surface, because that's where the air is. And that can be, look, how do you could drop them with precision bombs, or you could go around the nuclear sites with A-10 warthogs and all kinds of other stuff and start bombing everything randomly, just about, right? And make everybody that survives there, that's IRGC or some other kind of militia, dead or hiding and shaking and trembling, and then land a few helicopters full of special forces that are going to go with explosives and find these ductworks, which they probably know where they are already from photos, and we would probably put our SpongeBob bombs in there, which go in and then they kind of expand out and they look like a sponge. Okay, but they're hard as a rock. They're hard like hardened concrete, but it looks like a sponge. Put it in the ductwork, which we do in tunnel entrances and exits, and it seals the tunnels. Plus, there got to be tunnel entrances and exits in these nuclear facilities that we could also do that with also. Seal those up and go after the generators and stuff like that. That's a pretty gutsy maneuver, but it would work. Can they do it without landing troops, just by using precision missiles and bombs? Yes. Or they could do it both ways. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you could remember this. Step 1 is to take out the radar. Any and all the radar that Iran has. The problem with step 1 is Iran has built mobile radar on trucks that can launch missiles. Now, these radars are not over the horizon radars. They probably go 150, maybe 200 miles. Okay? That would enable them to hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, maybe Jordan and Saudi Arabia, the ports, the refineries, and American military bases in those countries, which account for 58,000 U.S. soldiers. So don't get deceived with 2,000 or 3,000 in Syria, 58,000 in these other countries. All right? And this is a bad problem. Qatar has a very large air base for America, and Bahrain has a very substantial Navy base for America, and I'm not sure they're really using it too much right now because of Iran proximity. They're just across the Persian Gulf. In addition, Iran has ships that can launch large amounts of drones and missiles. They look like container ships, they look like other ships, but they're not. In addition, Iran has 1,500 plus go-fast boats that could cross the Persian Gulf easily. That's a short distance. In some places, it's 100, 110 miles. And they could get close and start attacking stuff, ports, piers, who knows what. These things can launch missiles and torpedoes and all kinds of things. So there's going to be a price to pay for Iran. Now comes the missile cities. See, but if Trump sucks, let's say, 6 or 7 countries in with him, then they could put together a huge force and attack the Iranians. You know, you're talking 1,000 aircraft and, stuff like this, 89 destroyers, 27 submarines, numbers like this, right? And they could lay a real heaping of destruction on Iran, but they're not going to escape destruction in the Middle East. What's Russia going to do about this? Well, if Russia and North Korea and Iran and Belarus and Venezuela and Cuba rise up and launch their sleeper agents, it'll finish off America. And that may very well happen. So I'm trying to show you a convergence of many events coming at the same time. Okay? There's more. The France, Germany, and the UK putting heavy sanctions on Iran after Trump is laying sanctions on him is going to be grueling and crippling to Iran. And Iran is probably going to come out of the box fighting. They're not going to just sit still. Iran is talking trash, okay, to Trump. And Trump is still walking and talking like there's serious negotiations. There are no serious negotiations, and Trump knows that. The author of The Art of the Deal doesn't know that Iran is just buying time. Trump knows it. This thing with France, the UK, and Germany could be what Trump is waiting for. They may not go the direction Trump wants them to go, but they probably will. More sanctions on Iran means you're pushing Iran harder into a corner, painting them into a corner, and the chances, the way Trump thinks, the chances of them making a deal to get out from under sanctions. In other words, just throw away their nuclear program, let it get blown up and dismantled, just to get out from under the sanctions is going to work. Well, it's not, because we know Bible prophecy. It may look like it's going to work, but it ain't going to work. I'm not so sure that we're going to see Iran get attacked without the United States in it. It's a possible, it really is, but I think it's an unlikely possible. And more likely, America hitting Iran is going to bring on the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, the attack. I could be wrong, maybe not. Maybe Iran will just do a preemptive attack on America before they have a chance to do anything. Iran is smart enough to look at it that way. If we wait and they impose the sanctions and all that stuff, they're going to, they're going to fortify their military. They're going to get ready. Let's not, let them get ready. Let's just do preemptive strike. But there's a lot of preemptive striking to do. But Iran may just get lunatic and say, we're just going to wreck your whole world for you, and start taking out the oil refineries and the ports they use to deliver oil in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, and cause oil to go to 200, 300, 400, 500 a barrel. It'll go at least 200. It may go to 500. Some people say 500. I would say probably between 200 and 300. But that's enough to make gas so expensive people in Europe and America and South America aren't going to be able to go to work. Gas is $60 a barrel. You're paying what, $3? If gas goes up 5 times, let's say 4 times, you're paying 12 at the pump in America. How are people going to go to work? People got SUVs and pickups like crazy. So if they're going to burn, let's be conservative, 4 gallons a day coming and going from work, that's $50 a day. That's $1,000 a month on gas. Not everybody can afford that. The people making $180,000 a year can afford that. But the people making 60, 70,000 and less, they can't afford that. Trump will have to subsidize gas in America, but that's not going to help Europe and the rest of the world. It's going to throw the country into economic chaos, and Russia wants that, and Iran wants that. Iran could easily shut the Straits of Hormuz, which closes the Persian Gulf, just by laying a few mines, a few dozen mines, naval mines, and that's it. It's closed. And then let's not forget the Houthis in the Red Sea, shutting down the Red Sea, which hurts the oil movement. And, guys, this is, the Houthis will cut the internet cables and cut the SWIFT banking system out. They can easily do that. There's something like 16 cables off the coast of Yemen. Iran is saying they got their hands on Israel's nuclear plans and they know where our hidden nuclear sites are and stuff like that. Israel officials came out and said officially there are no such documents. Iran's making it up. The Iranians are saying that we'll reduce our nuclear yield to 3.7% or something like that, which is peaceful uranium needs for electrical plant generators and stuff, right? If Israel eliminates their nuclear stockpiles and facilities, thus making the Middle East nuclear free. That's what the Iranians said. Think Trump liked that? The Iranians are light years away from any kind of deal with Trump. They said, oh, yeah, we'll go back to Trump and give him a counter proposal because Trump's not talking about sanctions in his demands. So the Iranians are going to say they want the full and immediate release of sanctions, ending sanctions, and they want all the money that was frozen returned, stuff like this. And Trump knows they're just going to get the money back, and then they're going to just lie to the IAEA and continue enriching uranium. They know that. 200 members of Congress wrote Trump a letter a couple of weeks ago and said, we will take nothing less than the dismantling of their nuclear facilities. And that's the direction Trump has to go to get Congress to ratify this treaty. It's not just up to Trump. He gets the treaty, brings it back to Congress, and they ratify it, the House and the Senate. If it's not ratified, it's not in effect. Thursday, there's some sort of a meeting with Iran and America on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. A scientist from Wuhan laboratories in China was arrested at the Detroit airport yesterday smuggling what appears to be some sort of COVID-type germ material into the U.S. Why doesn't the U.S. just tell everybody that the Chinese likely caused COVID as a biowarfare thing or something? I don't know. The protesters right now are active in Dallas, Texas, and Austin, Texas, and they're active in Tampa, Florida, and Houston, I believe. Trump did say the Iranians are making demands that America could not fulfill. So he's starting to let the cat out of the bag and tell people that the negotiations with Iran are going south. See, his thinking is like this. Oh, we got Israel, we got America, we got the UAE, we got France, we got Germany. Let's say we pick up Italy and two or three other countries. We'll pick up maybe Poland, Romania, and a few other countries. We get 7 or 8 countries, and we start moving aircraft and warships and letting Iran know we're coming. Oh, Iran may get scared and make a deal with us. See, that's what Trump's going with this. But we know what prophecy tells us, and it ain't going to work. Ceasefires and peace deals in these days don't work, but wait till you hear what's going on with Gaza. Arab activists are planning to come with vehicles and arrive at the Rafah crossing, which is between Gaza and Egypt. They, at this point, are coming from, I got to read you the countries, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, Muslim majority, psychobabble, lunatic countries. Babble's not the right word, I'd confuse you, just psychotics. They have to get there through Egypt. Their aim is to arrive in the Sinai next Thursday. So does that mean 2 days or a week from? I think a week from this coming Thursday. And then on to the Rafah crossing, with the stated goal of breaking the siege on Gaza and entering the interior of Gaza. It appears to me they intend to carry weapons, and I don't know what they think they're going to do with our tanks and aircraft and artillery and mortars and mobile artillery. I don't understand any of this. Nobody seems to know what Egypt is going to say. Egypt may deny them access. But talk about the Zechariah 12 siege, here's another element popping up, isn't it? Does it look to me like this is going to bear a lot of fruit and be a serious threat? No. Because it's not a national government doing it. It's just a bunch of renegade terrorists, Jew haters, coming with pickup trucks and stuff like that. It doesn't sound to me like Egypt's going to get behind this. We could see the Muslim Brotherhood may put pressure on Egypt, but I don't see this. But it is interesting. Now we got to talk about that idiot girl and the ship that was going to break the siege in Gaza with the ship. Okay, so the Israeli Navy went out and intercepted the ship. They took the girl, and there was 10 or 12 people on this 35-foot boat, and they gave them sandwiches and fresh water and put them on the Navy vessel and took them to Ashdod, which is a port. They towed their boat to Ashdod. I don't know what's going to happen with the boat. I don't think Israel's in any mood to give them the boat back right now. They did take these people to a medical facility for medical examinations. Now, I don't know how that worked, because a lot of these people probably refused it, but they might have just done, the stethoscope and the blood pressure and quit at that point, look in their eyes and ears and throat, and, it could have been simplistic like that. Ask them if they have any problems with, gastric distress or dizzy or who knows what. Maybe they ran IV fluids if they were dehydrated. I have no idea if they did anything, but I understand now this the girl and the others are at an airport in Israel, and they're going to be put on a plane and flown back to their country or countries or something. They're just not going to. They're not going to be detained any further. They're just going to be sent out of the country. So there's no court proceedings or anything like that. There's no fines. Now, they did throw their computers and cell phones overboard in the ocean when the Israelis came. I don't know why. There were probably contacts there with Hamas and other jackass terrorists, lunatics, psychotics that they didn't want revealed, I'm guessing. Did the Israelis dive down in the water and try to no, they didn't care. It wouldn't be any vital information. They didn't do it. They probably didn't even know they threw it overboard until after it happened. You know. So, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with the boat. Um, the boat's here, and they might just take it out to sea and sink it, or I don't know what they're going to do with it, but they're not getting the boat back. Nobody's giving them the boat back and turning them around and escorting them away from Israel in their boat. None of that. That's the end of that. But it is interesting because it is something to do with the siege or breaking the siege or something like that, right? So it is of interest. But it was a publicity stunt above and beyond anything else, and it failed. They did make these people watch 37 minutes of gruesome footage as to what Hamas and the Palestinians, the thousands of Palestinian civilians that came with Hamas to kill, rape, plunder, and pillage Israelis, to watch what they did on October 7th. They made them watch that. That may have some effect on them, I don't know. And of course, these people are all in favor of saving the ocean. So why did they send their cell phones and their computers down to Davy Jones's locker, huh? Interesting. Of course, their cause is more important than the fish in the oceans. So these are some interesting developments, and they need to be watched, and I'll be watching them. And the world in general is rather unaware of this. And they're all talking to you about the Ukraine-Russia war. And these people are generally selling you survival equipment, survival supplies, and getting you to pay for special news broadcasts and special information and, stuff like this. They're out there to beat the fear drum. Russia can't handle Ukraine. How the heck is Russia going to handle NATO and Ukraine at the same time with America? It's a joke. Russia can't even begin to handle that. Can Russia do it with North Korea and China and Iran? Probably, but that's a big thing, and I don't see that happening in prophecy, so it ain't going to go down that way. All right, let me go into the live stream and see what we got going on here. If I have questions, or I do try to answer questions. I'd appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button. It takes you, 2 seconds? Is that asking for so much? For you to hit the thumbs up button? Somebody posted Jeremiah 51:14. I believe that's a relevant post. Let's read it. Jeremiah 51:14. And all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong verse. My lousy iPad, the screen's not responding the way it's supposed to. 51:14. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Now, fill thee with men like caterpillars. You see, those are your sleeper agents. It says, saying, surely I will fill. Okay, let's check that word. It's 4390, Strong's number. Male. To fill. Let's see how Strong's puts it into English. Strong's is the best of them. I think it means fill. That's probably a very good translation. Those are your sleeper agents. To fill America means they're in America. Not they're in the Atlantic or the Pacific or Europe. They're in America. Those are your sleeper agents. I'm telling you, there's millions and millions of them there. They're just scared to deploy because they know it's end times and they know America can fight back, drop bombs on their capitals and stuff like that. They're quaking in their boots, but they're going to go through with it because it's prophecy. It's going to happen. Okay? It's going to happen. And it also says in Jeremiah 50, verse 24, that America's in a snare and doesn't know it's caught, but it is. And that's Trump. And when you read Isaiah 47, the economy, it looks like there's darkness in the land. That means the grid's out and the economy is bad. You know, Trump's failing with his tariffs. And, you know, he's telling them, he's blowing smoke at the people. Making them think everything is honky-dory and peachy and everything else, and it's not. It's really not. It's bad. It's bad. I could take questions, but my advice is Saturday is the Shabbat, the 14th. I'd say stay home, pray, just stay home, take it easy. I wouldn't go to the malls. They could be hitting malls. They're starting to loot in California. They've been doing it for a couple of days already. And the looting is the reward for the protesters to come out. Because they're generally going to get away with the looting. Okay? And that's what gets a lot, you know. They got trained protesters that have an agenda, but they need regular, you know, drone ants, you know, so to speak, to do the general work. And they want looting because it creates chaos. They want them to loot. So they teach them how to loot and they organize where they're going to loot. And it rewards these people and that makes them come back the next day. We're going to loot more stuff and more stuff. One of these days, and it could be this week, they're going to start going to the houses in the nice neighborhoods. I don't think they're going to go to the ghettos. They're going to go to middle class, and upper class houses and start looting there. It'll happen. You'll see it. It's in prophecy. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen Saturday? I don't know. I would stay home. I wouldn't go out. And it's not just going to be over on Saturday. It's going to be continuing as long as they can keep it going and create damage. And as long as there's looting, there's reward. Okay? They love looting liquor stores, supermarkets, appliance stores. These are things they love to loot. Okay? I've never seen them loot banks. There's always a time, but it's not easy. Um, the banks lock up the cash at night in the vault, and it's not simple for a bunch of protesters to break into the vault and get the cash, but you could do it. What you got to do is get a big truck and look at the bank where the vault boxes are. That's where the hall is, in the vault boxes. And what you got to do is get a big truck, like a big garbage truck or something like that. I mean, a great big one with big heavy steel bumper, and start ramming the building. So you don't try to break through the vault door in the bank. That's the hardest way to do it. Stupidest way to do it. You break the wall down, which is nothing but a bunch of reinforced concrete and rebar, and it might be 9 or 12 inches thick. It's not 3 feet thick or anything like that. You just smash it, and now you're in. And then you've got to get tools. You need drills with batteries, and you start drilling the vault boxes open. You drill the locks out, and, or you pry them out or whatever you're going to do, and you get the vault boxes, and you're going to find in the bank with vault boxes, you're going to find a lot of jewelry, a lot of cash, and guns and other stuff. And that'll be very rewarding for these people to do. And what about the police coming to the bank and arresting them? Well, it depends on how big the protest is, how much disruption there is. Remember, the more looting they can provide to the protesters, the more damage that's going to be done, and the longer the protest is going to last. Okay? So the looting is an essential part of this, the reward for the protesters. So don't think it's not going to be big. The banks is a difficult looting procedure, but very, very rewarding. When you hit the supermarkets, what do they get? Well, they grab the expensive meats and the liquor, the wine, the beer, all the stuff they got that they can trade or barter, and they get out of there. Okay? But it's nothing like getting diamond rings and diamond necklaces and expensive pearls and stuff like that, A lot of the rich people in the wealthy communities don't keep a lot of their valuable jewelry inside their safes in the house. Some do, but not all. A lot of them use the banks, because under normal conditions, if somebody goes to the bank, now your vault box contents is not insured in a bank, okay? Now you might be able to have a private insurance policy that tells you have to keep, let's say you're dealing with a guy that's got $11 million of expensive wristwatches, and he has an insurance policy. Well, the insurance company might tell him he has to keep 80 or 90% of the watches in the bank vault box at any given time. So if he's got 10 watches, he can keep 2 of them in the house, and 8 of them in the vault boxes. These are watches worth $250,000 or more, or something like that, You could have a big vault in your house, and they come in and they stick a gun in your mouth and cock it and say, open it up. Or more appropriately, if they blow your head off, you're never getting in. So they just sit there and put a bullet in your foot or your leg or something like that and say, open it, it will get the other leg. Or they could do it to one of your children or your wife or something, That's the way they do it, Now, let me tell you something, how foolish rich people are. They live in these communities where they got security guards around the place, right? Okay, how do you defeat the security guards? You follow them when they go off shift. Are they watching for physical surveillance? No. You could also put devices on their vehicle that allow you to track them much easier. Just walk by where they park their cars and they're magnetized and stick it in a wheel well or something, right? And then you follow them home and you know where they live, and then you take pictures of their wives and their children, right? Their husbands. And then what do? You have to have an encounter with them. So you have to maybe stop them on the way home driving. You have 2 or 3 cars. One car stops in front of them and blocks them. And then somebody gets out and walks over to him, taps him on the window, and gives him a package of pictures of them and their family. And they say, if you don't want anything bad to happen to your family, we'll be in touch. And then they give him a burner phone. So basically, what do? They tell these people they'll give them some reasonable amount of cash, maybe $5,000 or $10,000, or maybe nothing, or maybe more, but they want their cooperation. So they got to get a few of them scared enough to let their people penetrate the compound that the rich people live in without them turning them in, or calling for help, or anything like that, or sounding the war cry that we're being invaded. And then they do whatever they want. You see, that's how it works. Now, you're not going to be able to do this with city police very easily, because the city police are basically a big gang of people capable of killing anybody that would try to mess with their loved ones. Okay? So if you're in a police department with 300 cops and you try to pull this crap on the cops, they're going to throw the Constitution out the window. And they're going to try to, grab anybody they can and work their way up with brute violence and, waterboarding and everything else to get the rest of them. They're not going to play nice. Okay, so it's not going to work like on the Beverly Hills Police Department. They'll brutalize whoever it is that's trying to contact you. So that won't work, okay? But when you're talking about private security at compounds, yeah, it'll work. Are these private security guards frequently Navy SEALs and Green Berets and retired cops? No. You might have the guy in the office that runs the company, a big supervisor of, 50 or 100 security guards, maybe is a guy like that. But no, the actual guards, they're not highly trained people. Navy SEALs and, Green Berets and stuff like that could get much better work than that. That doesn't pay much. $30,000, $40,000 a year, what are they going to make, They're not, they're not getting big money. So, these rich people got a phony sense of security about these security guards. The other thing they might do if there's writers is just overwhelm the security guards and, take them prisoner or kill them or beat them up or tie them up with twist ties or whatever they want to do. There's not that many of them. I've been in Southern California, elite communities, and they have a post where you drive in and you meet a guard post. There's a gate, and there's one guy or 2 guys in there, and they wear a uniform and they got a gun, and they sit there and they say, yeah, can I help you? Yeah, I'm here to see the Joneses and blah, blah, blah. Are they expecting you? Yes, sir. What's your name? You give them the name. Then they say, I need your driver's license. Then they take a scan of your driver's license, right? and they got your license plate, and the camera's got a picture of you, right? Then they call, well, before they do the driver's license, they're probably going to call the house and say, we got so-and-so here, says you're expecting them. Yes, that's correct, send them back. Okay. Then they'll scan a driver's license, send you back, right? Okay. And a guy on a car or a motorcycle will follow you to make sure you stop at their house and get out and go in their house. Hang on a second, I gotta see what this is. So these gated communities don't protect a whole lot. And the haul that the looters will get from these expensive houses, I'm talking houses in excess of $2 or $3 million. Not $1.5 million, 3.5, and then there's going to be $8, $9, $10 million houses, stuff like that. The haul is huge. They're going to carry out the big screen TVs, they're going to carry out the sofas, they'll carry the clothes, they'll take the food, they'll take anything, and they'll start looking for the safe rooms because they're trained by people. Safe rooms are always in these mansions, and whenever you see the YouTube videos about them, they never show you where the safe room is, but it's always there someplace. And the safe room tends to be hidden, it's hard to find. But it's not that hard to find. And a lot of times breaking into the safe room could be somewhat on the difficult side, you know. It just depends how they build it, you know. I built 2 of them in different houses out of America once, and I did it in using a walk-in closet and a steel door, solid steel. It'd be thick enough where you wouldn't really be able to get you're normally going to encounter a 9mm or a 40 or a 38 special or something like that. So it would be 2 layers of, metal, and it wouldn't let the bullet go through both layers, If they had a 44 Magnum, which is highly unlikely, or a rifle, it would pass through. But then they have to hit you, and then you could shoot back at them. And I used to keep a little arsenal in there, high-powered pistol, like 10mm, that would go right through the sheetrock if I wanted to shoot out at them, and 12 gauge. And you could hide in there. But, I was basically setting that up to hide in there for, 10 or 15 minutes till the help come, or even less, And if you were quiet in there, they wouldn't even know if you were in there, and they wouldn't know what it was. They think it was just some sort of closet. You had a steel door on, and trying to break in would be a rather lengthy process. They wouldn't have enough time for that, and they knew it. So anyway, but these places got more elaborate things, and what they're probably going to do is just build, hard concrete with rebar, something like 6 or 9 inches thick, that you're not going to get through for a long time. What you really need to do to make that work, they probably would never do. I had a contractor guy I knew explain it to me. You got to make your wall more than 12 inches thick, because trying to get a drill bit to go deeper than 12 inches is near impossible. They don't make them. So you try to go 14, 15 inches thick on your wall. You could put rocks in there, which screw drill bricks up. a rebar, which screws them up. You do the rebar like crisscross, and you got to go 14, 15 inches. So if they do have a drill and you're 9 inches or 6 inches, they could drill in, make a hole, and then they could put a crowbar in and start working the hole and getting it to open up. But if you're 15 inches thick and they got a drill bit that goes 12, well, then you still got 3 inches of hard concrete. What are they going to do? Shoot at it? It'll just chip it. It won't do anything. But there's very few houses that are going to do what I just told you, because the rich people that buy them don't know any better. Now, some of them that have really good security consultants are probably going to do 18 inches or something like that. So it'll even stop small explosives, And then they can put their safes inside the safe area. And they got cell phone communication in there. They got water in there. They'll have, maybe protein bars or some food in case they got to stay there a few hours. They could wind up in a hostage situation. Let me explain. They can't get out, all right? But the police may not want to rush them because the police may think that they have them as hostages because they stopped the cell phone communication and the internet communication, and to buy time, they tell the cops they have them as hostages and they'll kill them. So they could get stuck in there for hours or a day or two or something. It could happen. Cops aren't that smart. They don't want to take chances, and they could tell them they put explosives on the safe room, they'll blow it up. Who knows what happened, But when you see these expensive communities that are all over the United States, in the last 20 years or so, they got safe rooms. Okay? So if their house is being broken into, they're going to run into the safe room. Okay? They're going to wake the kids up, wake everybody up, and quickly as possible run into the safe room and hide in there. Now, the infiltrators, the rioters, will get in the house and they'll realize it, and they may just start evacuating the house of valuables and forget it. They may burn the house after they get stuff out of there, but probably not. But maybe. Or they may decide they want to go after the safe room because they're going to get a lot of money if they get in there. And if you're just using axes and sledgehammers and stuff like that, are you going to get in the safe room? Sure. Any safe room. They're not going to build a 6-foot wall, 6 foot thick, I mean, you might occasionally find some nutbag that has his safe room built in like a basement with concrete around it, and it's underground. I mean, that's like a 1 in 100. Generally, it's going to be a hidden room that's going to have some supplies in it, probably have a couple of safes in it, and it's going to be hard to find it, but not impossible. And it's probably going to have controls for cameras around the house where they could look and see what's going on outside the safe room. It might have sound. And they're going to have some sort of cell phone or radio communication with the secure company, the alarm company, and maybe call the police and stuff like that. Okay? But the police ain't coming because mob scenes are going through these communities, so there's nobody coming to help them. So it's just a question if these people want to find the safe rooms. If the house doesn't have a safe room and they get the people in it, they're going to just tell them open up the safe, or they're going to start carving them up or shooting them, and the people will open the safe. They're going to be raping the people. They're going to be beating them. They're going to be venting at these rich people. It's going to be brutal. They'll be killing them. gang raping them, all kinds of sicko stuff's going to go on. You know, homosexual raping and torture is, you know, they're going to keep, where's the hidden, where's the money hidden, where's the other stuff hidden? They're going to keep prodding them for more loot to pillage, you know. And this is really going to happen, and this is in Jeremiah 50:51. It's the type of thing you're going to see happening. Okay. They might go into middle class homes also. I'm talking, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses, because they're going to get a haul out of there too. They're going to get prescription drugs, which they like. People, you'd be surprised how many people have various controlled substances with prescription in these houses. Tons of it. They'll take that. They'll take the liquor, the booze. They'll take clothes. There's always going to be some jewelry. Steal cars. Rape. Televisions, furniture, you know, whatever they could get, you know, whatever they could get. It's a mob. You got to understand. What about the gun nuts and stuff like that? Well, in any of these communities, you're going to find people that have a few guns, and it says they're going to be so scared they're not going to shoot at them. They're going to just hide. Now, if this involves the sleeper agents, which are military trained, it's not going to look this way. They're going to go to the houses methodically, and they're going to confront the people and tell the people they want everything, and if they believe you haven't given up everything, we're going to kill you, you know. And the people are going to get scared and give up everything, and they'll probably kill them anyway. And that's the kind of thing you're going to see. Is it going to happen this Saturday? I don't know. It could, and it maybe doesn't. We've just got to wait and see. We don't know. We don't know. But if they start doing this, it's going to be in at least 80 or 100 cities. Trump's going to put 3,000 or 4,000 National Guard in every city. How can he do that? I don't think he can. Has the National Guard shut the riots down in LA and restored order? No. Still going. The only way you're going to shut it down and restore order is to start killing the protesters. You understand that? Shooting them and killing them. Mass arrests will help a little bit. Maybe if you start arresting 20,000 people or 5,000 people or something like that, you might break it up. I don't know. But all roads lead to shooting the protesters. I don't think you're going to get there without doing that. Not under these conditions today. These people are motivated in a very sick way. So I don't believe the tear gas and that kind of stuff is going to do the job. Not with these kind of people. Salvation comes from the Jews, not the church. And the word flows forth out of Israel, not from the nations into Israel. That's the church teachings. It's not the Bible's teachings. They will go to drugstores and retail stores. They'll start there. And then they're going to go to the houses. They start with retail. They don't start with houses. They start with retail, and then they expand from there to houses. And it's hard for me to believe that people in these houses won't shoot at them. But I think when they start shooting at them, they'll just burn their houses down with them in it. But I don't know. maybe we got to watch all the little details. I don't know how it's going to play yet. Okay. So that's basically what I got. So if you want the updates on this stuff, you might want to subscribe. It's up to you. I would ask you to take 2 seconds and hit the thumbs up. I don't think that's asking too much. It's a lot of work goes into getting all this information and putting it together for you. We're in the days of the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. It's got to come before Jeremiah 30:11 and before Jeremiah 46 verse 28, which is the destruction of the nations he scattered the Israelites into over the centuries. So that has to happen first. And I think we're about there. But I think Elam is going to get hit before America gets. Now, I can't guarantee it, but I think that's the case. And that might be the trigger. Because then they say, okay, Trump is really flexing his muscles. We got to get rid of him now. Or he's going to get rid of Russia and North Korea and China and everybody, Cuba, Venezuela, the whole bit. So that could be the trigger for them to say, we got to take a chance and get rid of America now. You see what I'm saying? Thus launch the sleeper agents. We got to go. If we don't go, we're going to be sorry. And China's not going to hit Taiwan and Japan, and North Korea hit South Korea and all that. They're going to converge on America, go after America. Now, I don't know how long all this is going to take, but remember it says they tried to heal her and she would not heal, and then they go back to their own country. So it goes on for some days or weeks anyway, probably weeks. So there you have it. I wouldn't waste my time listening to what they call emergency action messages. That's just nonsense. When things get serious, they're not going to do codes on those channels. You know, they're not going to say echo, uniform, you know, this and that. Come on. They got very sophisticated codes they're going to use. So we watch Russia and Ukraine. Why not? We watch Taiwan and China. We watch North and South Korea. Yes. We watch Iran very carefully. So many fires in Canada, I don't understand why. Canada is not the daughter of Babylon. I don't understand it. If anybody has some insights, I'd like to hear it. I don't know. America right now has few fires, but there's a lot of volcanoes and a lot of earthquakes now. And those are birth pangs. And I'm not an earthquake volcano reporting center. You can look that stuff up yourself. I put a lot of it up on Twitter, on Telegram, my Telegram, but I'm not getting all of it. So believe me, it's up noticeably and substantially. It's increasing. And maybe this is all we're ever going to see with the increase, or maybe it gets worse. I don't know. But there's definitely an increase there. And you got to put that in the pot with everything else and take it all into account. And we're getting there real quick. Okay? So, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing of our bodies. We all need that when we get old. And pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos and more insights on prophecy, more sequencing and timing insights. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I will be updating the Telegram as usual several times a day. And I will probably do emergency live streams as needed. So you might want to subscribe to get the notices. That's up to you. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out, and thanks again to the moderators.